Hey, Baruch Hashem, Boker Tov. Today's daf yomi is Sanhedrin daf Lamed, and today's daf is dedicated for Shmir for the Chayolim. That's all for the Shvuyim. The Yeshua for Am Yisrael on this eighth Tzara. We're going to start Bezras Hashem Yisbarach on the bottom line on Chav Tes Amud Beis. Ahu Odisa. There was a document of admission. The person admitted he owed the money. And now, if we had said in the Gemara, if he admits it in front of two, they have to make sure that he wants them to write it. If in front of three, we assume it's a court and he doesn't have to make sure. But here, now because of a duchrim piskima, so it used the language of zichron dvarim, which is the language of a court, not witnesses. On the top of Lamed Amud Aleph, the whole Lishnei Devedina, and it has also the languages of a court, but there are only two witnesses, and it didn't say there are only two people who signed it, and it didn't say we were three and one of them died. So therefore, we want to know: is this like a bezdin and they had permission to write the document of admission, or is it like witnesses and they needed permission? So Ravina thought to say that this is like Reish Lakish, who said that we assume that the people signing the documents wouldn't do it if it was wrong. So Amar Rav Nasim Rami, no, maybe it's a mistake in court. Maybe they thought they could make a ruling with two. And so therefore we can't assume that they had permission to do it. And so therefore we're not going to say that they had permission to write it down. So Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak Ikas of Beidina. No, he says no. If they wrote it to court, they didn't have to specify anything else. We assume that it was a court. Maybe it was the case of an arrogant court, which makes a ruling with two. So Shmuel said two judges, it's a valid court. It's called arrogant. Gemara says, no, that's not the case. This is a court which had full authority. Because of Beidina the Rabbana Ashi. They said it's the Beidin of Rav Ashi. V'delma Rabbanan the Bei Rav Ashi. Kishmul Sviru. Dilsivu V'marwan Rabban Ashi. So Gemara had asked, maybe the rabbis of the court of Rav Ashi held like Shmuel. So Gemara says, no, because it says this is the Rav Ashi told us, and Rashi tells us here that Rav Ashi was the head of the generation as time, and he arranged the Babylonian Talmud, basically quoting the Gemara that we had seen in Baba Basra. That Rav Ashi Ravina Sofa Ra, they were the end of the halacha, and they paskind, and it was established in the Gemara. So now in the next case, Tan Rabbanan Amrolan Echad, one person said, I saw your father hiding money in like a box, and so if he comes along to make such a claim, the Amar, and as part of that claim, he says, I saw your father hiding money in the box. Amar Shalponi, and he says, oh, this money belongs to somebody else, or Shalmaiser Sheni, or it's Meiser Sheni money. So where did he see his father hiding it? It will be in the house. Or Markum, we're not going to believe this one witness because the one witness didn't have access to it. So he's not necessarily believed. But beside that, but if it would be in the field, Dvar Kayaman, then we believe the witness, because if he was going to lie, he could have just taken the money. Klal Shal Davar. And so what's the general rule? The general rule is Kol Shal Biyado Witla and Dvar Kayaman, that if he had been able to take him, then we believe the witness. But if he was unable to take him, then he has said nothing and we don't believe him. So Gemara says, but what about the fact, let's say you saw that they saw their own father hiding money in a box. And he says, oh, it belongs to this person, or it's Meiser Sheni. And now their father's no longer alive. If your father's like telling them what to do with it, we believe him. If the father looks like he's just trying to trick them, so they don't think he has too much money, or so they don't take his money, then we don't believe him. The third case, let's say there's a person who is very upset. He knows his father, he knows his father left him money, but he doesn't know where it is. He gets a vision, a dream at night, And in the dream, either from the angel of the dreams, Rashi seems to say, or maybe it was his father, other commentaries say, and in the dream he gets a vision. This is your money, and you have this exact amount of money, but but this money belongs to Meiser Sheni. You have to eat it in Jerusalem. Well, this actually happened. And every detail in the dream happened. The Amru and the rabbi said it's still not going to be viewed as Meiser Sheni. Why? Because since it's a dream, we don't believe every aspect of the dream, and so it's not enough to make it Meiser Sheni money. So if two of the judges say he's Zakai, means he's not liable to pay, and one says he's Chayev, then we say he's Zakai. And so then the Gemara asks, when they announced the verdict, how did they write it? So Rabbi Yochanan Amar Zakai. Rabbi Yochanan says the court simply says Zakai. He's not liable. Reish Lakish Amar Ploni Uploni Mizakin. Reish Lakish says no. They have to say these are the ones who ruled that he's not liable. Rabbi Elazar Amar Midivrein Mizdaka Ploni. Rabbi Elazar gives a third position. He says from their words we see that this person was not liable. So my benai, what's the distinction between them? Ika benai, one possible distinction is l'shalume iu menasa v'adayu. So if basically l'shalume to pay iu menasa v'adayu. If let's say the two judges made a mistake, and so then they made such a severe mistake that they have to pay from their houses. So these Rabbanan are arguing about the third judge. If he has to pay it, if he has to share in the cost and pay with them. So that's what they're arguing about. Amanda Amar, according to the one who says Zakai, according to the one who says the whole court basically just ruled Zakai, then the court says not liable, then he's part of that Mashayim. And so the third judge, even though he ruled against him, would have to pay. Amanda Amar Poni Uponi Mizak, and according to the one who says it lists exactly who said what, and then he doesn't pay because he wasn't listed as ruling that way. So the Gemara says, according to one who says that they issued the ruling that basically Rabbi Yochanan, that they just say Zakai. Well, if that's the case, the third judge could say, if you had only listened to me, you also wouldn't have to pay. Why do I have to pay? I ruled against you. So the different distinction. So the distinction is whether or not whether the two judges who ruled the wrong way have to pay the litigant the portion of the third judge, even though the third judge doesn't pay. According to one who says that they ruled not liable, and we just say Zakai, Rabbi Yochanan, Meshami, then the two other judges have to pay the portion of the third judge. Amanda Amar, Poni, Uponi, Mazakin, Uponi, Uponi, Machayev, and according to one who says, no, you list it, well, Meshami, then the other two judges don't have to, the litigant just gets 2/3. He doesn't get the share of the third judge, because the third judge didn't rule that way. Amanda Amar, Zaki, Meshami, but the Gemara says, according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says that that you just say not liable, and then the other two judges should have to pay the third judge's portion. Limber way. Why? The other two judges could say, Ilav at ba'adan, if you were not sitting amongst us, we wouldn't have been able to even issue any ruling at all. And so therefore, from the fact that you're with us, you should have to pay. So the Gemara says, the third possible distinction. That you're not allowed to be a gossip monger. You're not allowed to go around sharing tales. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Zakai. Rabbi Yochanan says, listen, just say this is the ruling. We don't want there to be gossip in the streets. Reish Lakish Amar Poni Uponi Mazakin Uponi Uponi Mechayvin. Reish Lakish says, no, you say this one is liable. This one ruled liable. This one ruled guilty. Not liable, mishum de milchse kashikra, because otherwise it looks like it's not true. You're saying everybody ruled this way, but it's not the case. It was a disputed decision, so therefore you have to say how people ruled. Rabbi Elazar, Islay Demar, Islay Demar. Rabbi Elazar holds like Rabbi Yochanan. Now we don't want there to be gossip mongering, and he also holds like Reish Lakish that we don't want to say a lie, and so therefore Elkach Kasvi Achi. And therefore he writes, Mi divrayim, coming out from their words, nizdaka ploni. This person, as a result of their discussion, this person is not liable. So then Gomer was a davar that once then they completed the matter, it says in the Mishnah, Yimachnisin, they bring them back in to the court. So Laman, who are they bringing back in? If you want to say it's the litigants, Hasam Kaimi. They've been standing there the whole time. Who said that they went out? If you want to say it's the litigants, they're right there. So the Gemara says, Elul Edim. So you want to say it's referring to the witnesses, that the witnesses had gone out and now you want to bring them back in. Come on, the look Rabbi Nassan. This must not be like Rabbi Nassan, the Tanya. Well, because we weren't in the price. So it's the refas that it says in the price that we don't combine the two testimonies unless they see it as one. Rashi says the testimony. The Gemara is going to explain the reasoning why in a little bit. Rabbi Shulman Karcha says, Rabbi Shulman Karcha says, even if they saw it one after the other, we could combine it. And you cannot testify in the court until they testify together. So the Gemara says this, Rashi says this is the stamma of the Brisa. Everybody agrees with that. Not Rabbi Shimon Karcha, but Rabbi Nassan Omar, no, we don't agree with that. Shomin Dvarav Shel Zayom. We can hear the testimony of one today. When his friend will come the next day, Shomin Estvarav, we can listen to him. So we want to say the idea is that this is like Rabbi Nasa, meaning they don't need to testify together. And so therefore, if our Mishnah is that we bring in the witnesses, that implies that it's not sufficient that we have to listen to every witness separately. Rather, we just hold on. We need to bring in all the witnesses and hear their witnesses together, and that's hear their testimony together. So that's the implication of this statement. And so it's not like Rabbi Nassan, because Rabbi Nassan had said not like that, because we just read the position of Rabbi Nassan. Rabbi Nassan said, so it's not like Rabbi Nassan, because we want to bring them all back in and hear everything. So the Gemara says, no, no, that refers to the litigants. The litigants had gone out. Rabbi Nechemiah, it's the position of Rabbi Nechemiah. This was indeed the practice of the Nikiyei Adas. The second time we're referring to them in our tractate. The cleanest minds of Jerusalem. And they would bring in the litigants, Shomin Devrayan, they would hear the words, they would bring in the witnesses, Shomin Devrayan, hear their words, then they would take them out, the court would discuss it, and then once they finish, it would bring back in the litigants. The Gemara says, but it says in the Brisa, but we have a Brisa that says that once the matter is completed, you bring in the witnesses, and we need to hear their testimony together. So that's the local Rabbi Nassan. So that must not be like Rabbi Nassan. So that Gemara says, Gufa, let's analyze this Brisa that we just cited. It's not really relevant for this discussion, but it's a tangent, but we'll cite, the Gemara says we'll cite it. The testimony is not combined until they both see it together. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, Omer Afil b'Zachar, even one after the other. What's their argument? It's either a pasuk or it's logic. The Gemara says, what's the logic? Because basically one says, I saw 100. According to Rabbi Yeshua and Karcha, a person could say, I saw you borrow $100, and the next day could say, I saw you borrow. Another one could say, I saw you borrow 100. So according to one who says, Ibaya Sema Svara, Amana de Kama said hi. Well, Kama said hi. They're testifying about two different $100. This one says before me lent 100, and this one says before me lent 100. So each one did not see it. So this is not one complete testimony on $100. Each one is two separate $100. So that's the logic. Amana the Kamasadai will come Asadai. Amana the Kamasadai will come Asadai. The Idach, and the other one says, Amana Ba'alma Travel Kamasadai. No, nevertheless, the Rabbi Shimon Karcho says it's okay. He says, nevertheless, they're both testifying that he owes him $100. Alternatively, it's a pasuk. Why? Who aid o ra'ah o yada. It says he is a witness. In this pasuk, Rashi says refers to two witnesses with respect to the carbon of an oath for testimony. If one witness had made him take an oath, he'd be exempt. So it says who aid o ra'ah o yada. And we learned in the bridesmaid, mashma shenemar lo yakum aid any odea shu achad. And the fact that it says there can't be one witness, I know he's one. So matom omer echad. So why did it say one? Zebanav kol makom shenemar aid arekan shnayim. Achi parelcha kotzav. So anytime it says aid, we're going to say it means two until until the Torah specifically says one. And what does the Torah say? It is one witness as aid. So the Rabbanan would say until they see it as one. Rabbi Shua says, however he saw it, even as one witness. And then we say, they have to testify together. Rabbi Nassan says, we listen to this witness today, and when the other witness comes the next day, we can hear his words. We don't have to hear them together. Okay, what's their argument? Logic. Mar Savar, the Tanakama says, Eid Achad Kiasi, when one witness comes with Shvuasi, he's coming to make him take an oath. But Umamono Asi, but he's not coming him to make him pay. And so therefore, the two testimonies are not able to combine because they're testifying about two separate things. Because the first one was coming to make him take an oath, the second one was coming to make him pay money. The idach, whereas Rabbi Nosson says, "Atu ki also bahadi adadi bechad puma kamasadi." You think if they come at the exact same time, they're speaking with one mouth? It's not possible. Everybody, they can't speak at the exact same time, and so therefore, we know that this is the practical way. We combine them, and here also we combine them. Or else it's a pasuk. It says, if the witness will not testify his testimony, and as well forcefully that doesn't know anything, then he has a sin. And both Tanakama and Rabbi Nassan hold like the Rabbanan, the Pligio, the Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. They both hold like the Chachamim who argue with Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, and they say that we need two witnesses to see it together. The question is, do we compare the Agada, the saying it over, to the seed? Marasavar Makshinan Agada L'Re'iyah. So the Chamim say we compare the telling it over to the seeing, whereas Rabbi Nathan says Marasavar will Makshinan. So now we don't compare it, and so therefore the testimony doesn't have to be at the same time. So again, the Tanakama said they have to see it together, as Rabbi Shimon Karcha could be on separate days. The Gemara says, Rabbi Shimon Yakim was trying very hard to get Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina ordained, meaning to say, he wasn't successful. So Yom Echad Yosef kamed Rabbi Yochanan. So one day he's sitting in front of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, Mika diyada alacha Rabbi Shimon Karcha law. Is there anybody who knows that the law is like Rabbi Shimon Karcha? Rabbi Shimon ben Yaakov, Dane. Yeah, says Rabbi Shimon Yaakov. Yada, I know somebody who knows it. Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. Amarei lema ezel. Okay, so tell us. Amarei lismechei ma'aberesha. So Rabbi Shimon Yaakov says to Rabbi Yochanan, first give him ordination, and then I'll tell you. So Samchay. So he gave him ordination. Amrei Beni Emorli Keitzad Shamata. So Rabbi Yochanan says to Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, What did you hear about this matter? He says, I heard that Rabbi Shimon Karcha agrees with Rabbi Nosson that the witnesses don't have to testify at the same time. And just like Rabbi Shimon Karcha says, the witnesses don't need to see it together. It's the same thing that they don't need to testify as once. So that they're connected. And so just like we say the law is like Rabbi Nosson, because we said our Mishnah is like Rabbi Nosson, it was a Stam Mishnah. So too the law is like Rabbi Shimon Karcha that they don't have to see it together. Amar you think I needed this? Of course, Rabbi Shimon Karcha holds Rabbi Nochanan. The main scene of the testimonies, Rabbi Shimon Karcha said we don't require it to be seen together. You mean that say that the telling of it needs to be together? Of course, Rabbi Shimon Karcha would hold like Rabbi Yochanan. So Amar Leis, Rabbi Yochanan said to Rabbi Yossi Rechanina, oh no. However, even though I didn't need it, and I gave you smicha for nothing, nevertheless, since you received ordination, we're not going to take it away from you. We see from here that if it's a great man, once he received your ordination, even if it was done by mistake, the ordination stands because it was all preordained from heaven, and that's how it worked out. So the Gemara says the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon Karcha, both by real estate, by property, and by movables. Meaning to say, if there's one witness who testifies that he admitted to us that Reuben admitted to us that this land belonged to Shimon, and the second witness says he also admitted it to me, it was a different time, then we could combine the witnesses. And so he says we agree with this both by real estate and by movables, by a loan. Shimon Karcha says we combine them all by real estate because they're testifying about the same piece of property, but not by metalton because it's a different actual money. So they're testifying to a different debt. So we don't agree with Rabbi Shimon Karcha by money, but only by property. Halacha. So he said, from the fact that halacha is like Rabbi Shimon Karcha, we call it the pligi. Is there anybody who disagrees with him? Modim, that everybody's going to be agreeing. Modim, Chacham, Rabbi Shimon Karcha, but Karcha, the Eidos Karcha, they agree that if he has testimony about the same piece of property, they're going to agree with it. They agree with them about a firstborn, that they testify that the blemish on the firstborn animal came on its own and not by a person. Even if one person testifies that blemish A came on its own, and the other one says blemish B came on its own, both of them are able to combine, ubeidus karka, ubeidus chazaka, and also by testimony about real estate, and also by chazaka, that they've established the land in their possession for 3 straight years. One person testifies that it was 3 straight years, and the other one testifies 3 straight years, meaning to say, one testified 3 years at the beginning, and the other one testified 3 years at the end. We combine them to say that he as a chazaka, v'chein sheba ben sheba bas. And the Gemara is going to explain what that means. We agree with Rabbi Shimon Karcha. Chachamim agree with Rabbi Shimon Karcha in that case. So we see from here. We see from Rabbi Abba, Rabbi Adi Bar Abin, that the Chachamim are not even arguing at all by testimony upon real estate. So why do Rabbi Bar Abin say the laws like Rabbi Shimon Karcha by real estate when clear everybody agrees with them? So Gemara says Gavra Karova. So you're saying one person or another person in an argument. Marasav or Pligu, Marasav or Pligu. Some say the Chachamim argue there, and Rabbi Adi Bar Abin says they argue, but Rabbi Adi Bar Abin says they don't argue. But Rabbi Bar Abin says, and then rather that they do argue there. What's the halacha that the Chachamim agree according to Rabbi Bar Abin to Rabbi Shimon Karcha by a son and a daughter? If you want to say, meaning to say, testifying that the boy and the girl are no longer minors. So what are they testifying about? If you want to say one testifies they saw one hair on the back and one hair on the belly, mean to say do different parts. In order to be an adult, you need 2 hairs, and they saw that each hair in a different spot, then no, that's not sufficient. Each testimony is each witness is not giving full testimony. They're saying I saw only 1 hair, but you need 2 hairs. And so therefore you have half a testimony on 1 hair. It's not sufficient. You need two witnesses on 2 hairs. If you want to say one says I saw 2 hairs in one place and the other one says I saw 2 hairs in another place, that's what they're testifying about. And that's where the Brisa says we could combine them, even according to the Tanna Kama. Even though each one is testifying by a different place, because they're both testifying on one matter, on the same girl or the same boy, we could combine them. Amar Yosef, Ana Mina Mishmei Ula, he said, I say in the name of Ula, I said, well, like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha, we combine it not only by real estate, but also by a loan. Only by real estate, but not by money. Rav Tamei. So Rav who says that the law is not like Rabbi Shua ben Karcha by movables, but it's like him by real estate. He follows the logic. Amar Rav, that if one witness made an admission after another admission, that can combine. If, let's say one witness testifies that the defendant admitted to the plaintiff on the first day, and the second witness comes and says the next day that he admitted, or if he testified to an admission, basically, and then the second person says, I saw him lend him the money, mitzdarfi, they could combine. Because we could say that they're both testifying to the same loan, but hava, the same debt. But if it was both witnesses were testifying about loans, or hava achar hoda, or if it was a loan followed after hoda, because then it's possible they're not both testifying about the same thing. Why do we say if it's a case of a loan after a loan that we don't allow them to combine? The money it's possible it's not the same money. Also, by admission after admission, it's possible that the one that he admits one day is not admitting the next day. Because so the Gemara says no. What we're talking about a case is where that the defendant says "Hi, boss," or to the last witness, he says, "Oh, the money I'm admitting to you, I also admitted to him." Okay, the Gemara says "Akati boss or yada," but okay, so the person who he admitted to the second day, he knows that it's the same. But kamal yada, but the guy the first he doesn't know. The Gemara says the other azal v'amar kama the other kamecho. He says, no, he goes back to the first guy and says it. So, okay, you should be calm because you calmed me down. So, Rav Huna says, what are you talking about? Rav Huna says, why is this such a calming thing? They actually, the Rava, perhaps Rava, and some say Rav Sheshes, they threw an axe into it. That he says, is this really a case of? Isn't the case of Odah Achar Odah really Odah Achar Avah? Meaning to say, since in the case of admission or after admission, you need that each one of the witnesses will know about the testimony of his friend. So we say that also in Odah Achar Avah, it has to be the same case. And so therefore, why does he have to say the same law twice? So the Gemara says, he says, oh, that's why I heard about you, that you cut down palm trees and you go plant them again. Meaning to say, you build it, you basically, that you cut it down and then you plant them again. Meaning to say, your practice is that first you build it and then you destroy it because you answered my question and then you went and broke it down again. In all these cases, mitzdarfos, command, they combine them all. They combine them all. Okay, so now we'll stop here. Baruch Hashem, pick this up. A very long daf. You have to say it very quickly, but shkoyach.